shut down and start off.
Hey, we're gonna go to the other room.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, you'll be disappointed in those rooms, but,
We got it.
Thank
you.
Yeah, thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much.
See you next year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, if you guys want to watch us, or.
it's personal, but don't take it that
Yeah, I
way.
know. If you're
You just
Unitarian,
hate
just know.
Now you know when you come back who to.
I know, seriously, you would.
Pretend that you're in DC and you're actually in competition.
Why
So
would I
how
do
should
it?
you be sitting?
Yeah, that's it.
Just freak out. Start crying.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep, I'm ready.
Bye.
Hold on a second.
Okay, bye.
Okay, Unit 3, Question 3, do all laws that create classifications violate the Equal Protection Clause? You may begin when ready.
Abraham Lincoln stated in a message to Congress in 1862 that, in giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in what we give and what we preserve. According to the Lockean theory, the sole purpose of the government is to protect the people's natural rights. Section 39 of the Magna Carta established equal protection under the law. The Declaration of Independence continued the ideas of natural rights philosophy by upholding it to the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And the 14th Amendment furthered natural rights through its equal protection clause for all people. Senator Jacob Howard, one of the drafters of the 14th Amendment, said the equal protection clause establishes equality before the law, and it gives the humblest, the poorest, most despised, the same rights and the same protection before the law as it gives the most powerful, wealthy, and those most haughty.
Equal protection under the law is seen in cases such as Strouder v. West Virginia in 1880, which struck down a state law declaring only white men could serve on juries, and Robner v. Evans in 1995, which declared Colorado Amendment 2 unconstitutional because it singled out homosexual persons. Essentially, equal protection is a guarantee of the prevention of discrimination using law, whereas equal protection is guarantee of the protection of discrimination using law, whereas equal opportunity is a freedom to opportunity as upheld in Bowling v. Sharp in 1954 in preventing segregation of schools in Washington, D.C.
Philosopher John Rawls views equality of opportunity and equality of outcome as being linked. With this theory of the two principles of justice, stating the equal opportunity is the right of each person to the most extensive system of equal basic liberties, compatible with all people, and also that economic and social inequalities can only be justified if they benefit the most disadvantaged members of society.
The court has interpreted the Equal Protection Clause through Best v. McCautry in 1993 to mean, treat similarly all those who are similarly situated with respect to the purpose of the law. There is no clear rule for deciding when a classification is unconstitutional on the basis of equal protection. However, the Supreme Court has dictated the application of different tests depending on the type of classification and its effect on the right to infringe upon using strict scrutiny, intermediate scrutiny, and rational basis. All matters of the First Amendment freedom of speech or race are located at with strict scrutiny, such as the 1977 case, Regents of University of California v. Bach, in which the court ruled that affirmative action plans did not violate the Equal Protection Clause as the universities were not aiming to meet quotas.
However, in cases of gender, intermediate scrutiny is used, such as the 1995 case, United States v. Virginia, ruling that the Academy's gender classification was not justifiable. Not all laws that create classifications violate the Equal Protection Clause because some classifications have a rational basis or a legitimate state purpose, as in the case of classification based on age, like the inability to drive until the age of 16, as well as drinking age and social security. Most classifications that violate equal protection are either over-inclusive or under-inclusive.
Over-inclusive means that the law includes people who are not appropriate for the designated group, and under it. This is opposed to being under-inclusive, whereas a law leaves out the person who appropriately belong in the designated group. Although the Supreme Court examines all legislative classifications under strict scrutiny, the court has failed to address whether same-sex marriage bans violate the Equal Protection Clause. Due to the lack of standing in the 2013 case, Hollingsworth v. Perry.
In Nevada, the governor and attorney general both refused to defend the voter-approved amendment stating marriage was between a man and a woman, leaving it up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn it. Arizona Governor Jan Brewer also vetoed a proposed bill which would allow businesses to refuse service based on their religious views, following the decision in Employment Division v. Smith. In Justice David Davis' opinion in Ex parte Milligan, he wrote, "The Constitution of the United States covers with the shield of its protection all classes of men, at all times, and under all circumstances." Thank you.
426. Under what basis would a governor and a lieutenant governor such as Nevada have the right to go completely against the vote of the people?
Under what basis?
I mean, the people voted. So under what basis can the governor and the lieutenant governor say, no, we're not gonna abide by what you voted?
Under the theory of trustee and delegate theories of representation, you could say that the governor is justified as he is being people are trusting him when they elected him to make decisions on their behalf. And so this decision that he's making is, people are trusting him that this is the right move for the people.
This could also be on the basis of partisanship, that he is supporting what his party sees as the issue of this, that he is supporting what he wants, if he wants to get reelected or he wants to keep moving forward in his political career, so he is going to decide that homosexuals should not be married, that it's against a religion or it's against his certain party.
Okay, but the basis of his office, how can he do that? What legal standing does he have to do that?
But I'll say under Article 6, he agreed to faithfully uphold and execute the Constitution, which can be seen as the national Constitution. When you read into equal protection as this law violating equal protection by not supporting it, he's supporting the equal protection clause on the national level.
Okay.
How is equal protection related to the rule of law and due process?
Equal protection and due process is related is because it protects the rights of the people. It holds the people equal. So it holds the people that in due process you do not favor one side over the other because you go through those certain steps, like you see in Brandon v. Arizona, as he got those steps in taking of what he did wrong. He sees that under the laws, under equality, such as equality, equal protection. Wow, I cannot talk.
They're linked together in the sense that without equal protection, the due process of law wouldn't be fairly distributed to everybody. And so if equal protection wasn't there, due process would only be given to certain people at certain times. And so they're linked together in that sense, such as the equal protection or the due process of the Japanese people that were interned at Korematsu was violated because they weren't treated equally. They weren't under the equal protection clause.
In regards to rule of law, equal protection is, in the 14th Amendment, it is seen as that higher power, that higher law, such as rules law, holds that equal protection over as one of the most important keys to our society.
Should private organizations be allowed to exclude people based on race, gender, or other physical characteristics?
I believe it matters on who the private organization is. If it's just solely women's rights and they want to gather women and go fight for women's rights, then I do believe a private organization should push out men or other. But when it comes to like private organizations helping a cause but excluding other due to color or gender, then I believe that is extremely wrong.
What about a private golf course?
I would say they should be able to discriminate because economically they won't be able to function as well, because at a certain point it becomes economically inefficient to discriminate against certain people because you're turning away your own business. And so in a capitalist system like we have in the United States, turning away business from people based solely on race or color at a certain point becomes economically unreasonable, and so it will correct itself through an economic process.
What controversies remain in the arena of equal protection of the laws?
One area that needs more clarification is the issue of homosexual couples, where Roe v. Evans put homosexuality as a rational basis when decided by the Supreme Court. But now with more states individually legalizing gay marriage, or as in Utah where the court struck down the part that outlawed same-sex marriage originally, you can see that with more states doing this, that it needs to be taken on as an equal protection right, less than an individual state right.
What controversies remain in the arena of equal protection of the law?
He just asked that.
That's-
When we just asked.
I didn't hear. I'm here. I'm lost. Is the Equal Protection Clause more important than voting?
I would say equal protection is more important than voting because, in the sense that in the South, where the black people were given the right to vote, but with so many obstacles in their way, such as the grandfather clause or Jim Crow laws, they weren't allowed to vote really because their equal protection was violated.
I believe the right to vote is more important than equal protection because that is what the United States is based upon, is that we get to have a say in our government, and equal protection doesn't necessarily have a say in our government like your right to vote does, that you get to change what is wrong with your state, with your local government, and with your national government.
Got one more?
What is the preferred freedoms doctrine?
The preferred freedom doctrine is the almost preference of freedoms over other ones. So when the Supreme Court decided not to recognize economic as a fundamental right and decided to recognize more individual things such as the right to have children, the right to marry through Loving v. Virginia, they used the freedoms doctrine to put those rights more fundamental than other rights.
Okay, time? Martha, you want to start?
We got that asked like that.
Actually, I think your questions were all good, and I'm sorry if I sort of faded into the woodwork. Sometimes that happens with me. I liked your answers. We talked about equal protection in voting. Think about what's happening now in some of the southern states, and the fact that the Department of Justice is, I believe at this point, is it North Carolina or South Carolina? Because of what they, and Ohio, because they are suing over their limits on how people can vote, can get to the polling places. And does that really impact, is that an equal protection under law? Or does that really just have to deal with voting? And the other thing, basically your answers were all good. You played off one another nicely. You had good inflection, good eye contact, and after I got you to sit up straight, good posture. And I liked the way you emphasized words when you answered cross, which was very important. So basically, I think you're ready.
Thank you.
Keep your hands away from your mouth.
Do I do that during?
Yeah.
Oh, I do? Okay.
With my private organization, I was just trying to look at the example, but there was a couple years ago, there was this golf club, and a professional golfer who happened to be a woman was denied access to the club because she was a woman. So, and it
Augusta.
Augusta.
Yeah, Augusta National.
Yeah, and
Augusta?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's the home where the Masters is.
They don't allow
And
it.
Yeah.
they were going to, there was a movement to pull the Masters away from that golf course if they didn't allow women entry. So Condoleezza Rice and somebody else now is a member, but that was their, you know, what they had to do, or else they would have lost one of the most prestigious tournaments in the world.
And actually, right here in Reno, we have a good example, and that's the Prospectors Club. It's only been in the past decade that they have allowed women into the Prospectors.
Prospectors Club.
That's the good old boys club.
That's exactly what it was.
But now they're allowing women.
Oh, their women are very much involved in it.
Nice.
Yep. And equal protection under law also can be brought into play when you think about the Hobby Lobby,
Hobby Lobby.
Hobby Lobby case. Does someone, I mean, we see signs that say, you know, no shorts, no shirts or shoes, no service. Does a private business have the right to do that? What if someone doesn't have a pair of shoes?
What about a public business? Because I see those usually like in public restaurants, like around the beach, like in Santa Cruz and stuff.
Yep,
They're allowed to?
It's their choice.
no choice.
Yeah.
On the other hand, do they have the right to refuse service to someone they suspect as being a homosexual? Do they have the right to refuse service if they look at a person and decide that they're Jewish or they're a Muslim because they're stereotyping? So you look at stereotyping in terms of equal protection under the law.
You just want to finish it. I wasn't sold on your answer about the governor and lieutenant governor. And you opened it up for questions because it's in your testimony. Okay?
Oh,
Because,
got it.
you know,
Okay.
I mean, think about that. The people have voted. And you have the top two officials of the state saying, well, so what? Okay, the root of the question was, is what legal ground do they have?
Did he answer it right though? Was his legal
I
ground
think
right?
part of it was
Sorry,
there.
I just
Now,
missed it.
when you said the partisanship, okay, it would have been death if he was doing it by partisanship if we ever had a good quality Democratic candidate to go against him, okay? That just, they would use it, okay? And it almost goes to the point of, is it, I guess you could go to the question of, is it abusive of their powers? And what I was trying to get at is so what right do they have to do that? What right do they have? What in the state constitution do they have that they can go back and say the people have voted, but yet who cares?
What
On
is
the
it?
other hand, the U.S. Constitution takes precedent over state constitutions.
And that's where you went with it.
Yeah, like
Right.
articles.
And that's very important.
Mhm.
And DOMA has been declared unconstitutional. Therefore, if the federal law is unconstitutional, can the state law be constitutional? Even if the people voted that way. Just because the people voted, and also you might bring up the point that we have such a low voter turnout that it really isn't representative of the entire state.
Right, okay,
Yeah, just remember, anything you put in your testimony is fair game.
right.
You open yourself up for, you know, and I think somebody would look at that and go, okay, so let's see about this.
Okay,
And they'll come at you with, is it legally right to do it? Is it a violation of anything? Is it abuse of power? What is it? And So I would just be ready for that, is what I would do.
Okay.
And
Okay.
don't be afraid to state how you feel.
No, it's your opinion,
If
then
you
just be
think
ready to
that
back
what
up.
they did was right and was based on
I can be like, that wasn't
constitutional
abusive
law,
or whatever.
say
Like,
it.
If you
disagree
think
with
it
their
was,
decision.
yeah. But for what purpose?
Okay, yeah, I just gotta.
Okay.
look that up.
Have something to back it up. All right.
Is that,
Thank
that's
you.
it?
Thanks, guys.
Okay, we'll see you all Monday night.
Oh, yay, yeah.
Dressed as you're supposed to be dressed when you're in DC.
Yes, we'll look great.
I know you will.